To learn about the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. So as you know, I've been working on my well. I got the well working fine. I tested it again today, perfectly clean water. So now all I got to do is build a little building around this, and then the well project will be completely done. It was this time last year. We moved here in March, the beginning of March last year. So this is April this year. And since then, we've gotten the well running. We've built our tiny house. We've got chickens now. Through this, I've been trying to share all this with you. I try not to give you my personal life too much. This is a vlog. There's the chickens. They're outside full time now. But through all this, I've had a real tough time with haters. There are an amazing amount of haters on YouTube. It's shocking. I can't even explain to you how terrible it is. And they will do anything to hate. It's turned into that I've got to arrest subscribers now. And a lot of people will say, oh, they're not subscribers. Well, yeah, they are subscribers. And I'll explain all this in greater detail. But I want to give you the history of things. I've talked about this in 3 other videos. But it just doesn't stop. And what I do notice is people are really interested in this content because I suppose they don't understand haters either. How do you even understand them? You know, I watched this one channel about self-defense, and he talks about bad guys don't think like you and me. And that's what I guess it is with haters. They don't think like you and me. They only think and hate. Like I said, we moved here a year ago. Prior to that, we were living the nomadic lifestyle. And I had this YouTube channel, I just changed the name of it, was documenting our travels for 3 years. And we really didn't like the travel. We were off-grid to some extent, having to make our own electricity and find our own water and that kind of stuff. But now we are really, truly happy. And a lot of people will say that's why we have haters, is because we're happy and they're not. I don't know. You can't explain it. So when we moved here, we moved into the camper. We took the camper off the back truck, you know, our nomadic camper, set it on the ground. I had to build a base for it. And we lived in that for 8 months while I was building the tiny house. We have an old, decrepit septic tank over here, and it needs repaired. And we went back and forth whether we were going to use it or not. But there are other ways to dispose of waste legally. But somebody reported us to the county code official. And because I say county because we don't live in city limits and we don't have a lot of codes here. But one of the codes that are enforced outside city limits is septic use. These haters hate so bad, they'll watch every one of your videos. Even though they hate you, they watch with discontent and hate. I can't even imagine them sitting there at their computer and just, Arr. So he took the time to find what county I lived in, based on clues that I guess I gave in a series of videos. You know, there's a grocery store 20 miles from here, and there's a Dollar General 3 miles from here, and you know, they see a church, and oh, okay, there's a church around, so they narrow it down, and then they figure it out. And this one guy apparently called several different counties, trying to figure out which county I was in. He figured it out, and he called the inspector and told him that I was dumping waste into our dry creek over here. It's only got water in it when it rains. It's just a runoff creek. So the inspector came out. Look, we walked up and down the creek, and he didn't see anything, obviously, because I wasn't dumping sewage into the creek. During that time, I showed him the tiny house because we had the floor built of the tiny house. And he said, wow, that's great, great idea. I love that you're using a trailer frame to build your tiny house because there's no codes on remodeling a trailer, which I hadn't considered because there's another aspect of the code that says if you're under 400 square feet, there's no codes required either. So I was fine with no matter what he would said, he was happy with it. So that was somebody from California. Well, as I was building, someone else from Tennessee called and complained that I was building a building without a permit. Called the sheriff in this case. Well, the sheriff, I have since learned, lives not too far from me. And so it was easy for him to stop by and check in on me. And he wanted to see my permit. And I said, well, of course, I don't have a permit because I don't need a permit. And there was some discussion. It wasn't even hostile discussion. He just thought I needed a permit. And I said, no, I have the card of the inspector who told me that I don't need a permit. He says, oh, okay. So the next day he comes back and says I was totally clear of any wrongdoing. He understood the law better and he apologized. Well, almost the time I was finished building the tiny house, the guy from Tennessee called the sheriff back. He said that guy called again and he's complaining that I didn't do anything about it and that I made a YouTube video calling the Tennessee guy out. I didn't use his name, saying that I was humiliating publicly and he wanted to press charges against me and all this stuff. Well, turned out that the sheriff decided to press charges against this guy. I mean, the guy was dumb enough, the Tennessee guy was dumb enough that he gave his address and phone number. I guess Tennessee rounded him up and they did whatever they needed to do. And the sheriff said he's been watching my videos. And he said, I would like for you to go ahead and make another video just explaining that we are going to prosecute people who are making false accusations against. Of course, I don't want to get into all the legal discussions, but he's paying or has paid for his misdeeds. But I knew the problem wasn't going to go away. As a matter of fact, when the sheriff told me to go ahead and make a video about it, I figured, well, they're just going to step up their game. Haters don't stop hating. And as an example of a hater that doesn't stop hating, about 4 years ago, I don't know, 3.5 years ago, I started noticing that there is a person who has a bunch of YouTube accounts, probably hundreds of them, maybe even thousands of YouTube accounts. And so what he does is he'll slowly subscribe all his accounts to my channel, making it look like, oh man, I'm having this great run on subscriptions. And then what he does is about 3 or 4 times a day, he unsubscribes 2 of his channels, 2 of his accounts. Every day, 7 days a week, 3 or 4 times a day, he gets on, unsubscribes, holidays, and then when he runs out of his thousands of accounts, you'll start to see growth again, of this amazing growth. And then it starts to fall back down. There's an obsession with these people. Instead of just stop watching my channel, they just hate and they collect information and they try to find something on you and they're just waiting for that opportunity that I'll mess up and they got me. Think about this, 3 or 4 years this guy's been doing this. I remember I used to have a neighbor and he and I did not get along. I was always just uptight about the guy. Every time I see him out in the yard, I was just uptight. Well, of course, I moved away. And I think, you know, I haven't thought about that guy in years. So if they would just stop watching, they would be so much better off. They would just be happy again. Well, it's happened again. So I've been working on the well. Now the well, the code and the criteria to the well is so simplistic. There is just nothing to the code book when you're working on your own well. If you work on your own well or you dig your own well, whatever the case is, you do not need permits at all. Now, you do need a permit if you're going to work on someone else's property and you're getting paid to do it. Well, I did all the work myself. Bought my own packer, bought all my supplies, did all the work myself. So the code was very clear. I don't need any permits. Well, the other day I get a message on YouTube that he has turned me in to the Department of Natural Resources, Missouri's Department of Natural Resources. So, I mean, it was the inspector, then it was the sheriff, now it's Missouri's. You know, the state's going to come down on me. Now, I don't know who this guy is at all. And so I took a screenshot of it and I blocked the comment. You know, I'm not going to approve that comment so he can, you know, advertise to everybody, he's got me now. And then because what happens is when one hater, it spreads like a virus. It really does. If you let a comment go that is hate-filled, then everybody, it seems like everybody who comments now is coming in, oh yeah, that guy, he's breaking the law. It's over with for him. And it spreads like fire. So I block it. Well, the next day he comes in with one of his other accounts apparently. And he says, I know you blocked me, but don't think that isn't going to stop me from continuing to call the law on you. So the Department of Revenue has contacted our local sheriff and wanted to know what we're doing over here. I mean, they didn't come out, but the sheriff, like I said, drives by all the time and he lives close by. And he says, yeah, they contacted the sheriff. Now, he doesn't know how the state's going to handle it. They're not going to deal with me because I wasn't doing anything wrong. I'm obviously within the criteria of the law. So once again, it's not just a YouTube thing. I mean, it's like I said, you know, I had a neighbor that just rubbed me the wrong way. I remember I was building a dog kennel where I could put my dogs out in the kennel. It was a wooden building. It just, you know, had a roof and shingles and the whole thing. It was really nice looking, it wasn't ugly. And so that way I could put my dogs in. If we needed to go somewhere, I could take them outside. Then my neighbor hated that dog kennel. So, you know, he called the city on me. And the city said, well, there's nothing we can do about that. He can build whatever he wants. This is not just a YouTube thing. There are people out there who absolutely hate and will find any reason to call the authorities on you just to harass you. I hope I can inspire you to find the love in your heart so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.